Hello there. Welcome to Dawnversations. If you're new, welcome. So happy to have you here. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for supporting me and listening to my show. I'm so happy to have you here. I am curious if you are on a walk right now, or if you're cleaning your kitchen, if you're driving your kids to school, if you're driving to work, like, how are you listening? Are you listening on Apple? Are you listening on Spotify? Do you want to see video? I know it seems trivial, but I'm curious. I want to know. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover. I need some input. So if you would please reach out to me at dawnversations@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media too, all over at the Dawnversations podcast. I would love to have some input. Okay, guys, here we go. Hello, it's Dawn, and this is my podcast, Dawnversations. It's a variety show about real life stuff, and there's something on here for everybody. So if that sounds good to you, let's go. Welcome to another episode of Dawnversations. Today we have Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to you. So, you have your own podcast. That's actually how I found you. And it's called Swipe Wrong.
Yes, ma'am. Sure is.
Okay, what happened? How did that come to be?
It kind of, the voices in my head helped me along with it, I think. So I was, I guess like most people, I was out, on the sites, on the Tinder, Bumble, Match, whatever craziness is out there, and I'd go out on dates, and it just seemed like the people I was talking to and going on dates with would say kind of the same thing. It was like, I have this crazy story, and everybody kind of felt like they had this target on their back, and Robin Hood was slinging arrows and hitting them right on bullseyes with the crazy. And I was just like, man, I promise you, you're not the only one who's attracted to crazy. And so I was like, what would be a good name? And then, instead of swiping right, swiping wrong just seemed like it made sense. So
I love that.
Thanks. But yeah, it was totally more like, I swear to God, you're not alone. You are not the only one who goes through this madness, and wanted to just make sure people didn't feel that way.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I am not single, but I was single in between my marriage and my last marriage and my current marriage. And I was still dealing with old fashioned, where people were trying to fix me up. So I didn't deal a lot with the different sites, but I did talk to people that did.
Uh,
And I mean, horrifying stories, just craziness that you couldn't even make up. But are there only a select few of sites still, or have there been new ones created? Or is it like the same people at every at every site that you go to?
All right, so there's a few, right? So there's definitely there is probably more sites than there is, like pick of your bread at the grocery store. There's so many sites.
Really?
Yeah, some that I'm still learning about every day. But the thing is, usually people will be on multiple sites. Like one person will be on 5 different sites. So you may see somebody on one and see them on another too. So it's a little bit of sensory overload, but there is so many. I mean, depends on even where you come from. There's some for certain cultures, or some for certain religions. There's, of course, everyone likes to laugh at farmers only, but that's out there too. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. God, that's just crazy. And that would be
Right.
frustrating too. Like, so do you find yourself taking a break for a month or two just so that you hope that the pool refills with new options?
I talked to a girl earlier today, actually, a couple hours before you and I talked to, and she are talking, and she said one thing I thought was interesting. She said her friends had recommended her take 6 months off of the dating sites and just kind of recalibrate herself. So sometimes you can just get lost in the abyss of, it turns itself into a video game where you're sitting there and you're swiping, and then you may end up with a connection, you may not, and you can lose sense of yourself if you don't take the breaks. I've heard that more often. I think that's something that people just maybe don't exercise enough. So not
Yeah.
necessarily a break from the people, but a break from the madness for sure.
Well, it's like going on a constant job interview. Like after a while, it's exhausting to tell your story. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, let me prove that I'm normal. I'm not a
Yeah.
psycho. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to kill you or, cut you up and put you in my fridge. Like I feel like everybody is so, not everybody. I feel like a lot of people are so jaded that they're
Sure.
just sitting there putting somebody under a microscope, and it's like they're waiting for the one sign, the red flag to say, okay, that's what's wrong with you. That's why you're single.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next,
Yeah. You are not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong. Like it is like the what you just said is pretty much spot on. Where they're like, "Oh shit, that's why you're single." Okay, I get it now. And as people get older too, like you're over 35, over 30, we'll say, and single. We've all got some sort of damage, so you're just hoping that your damage matches somebody else's damage, and like you can drive down the damage highway together, and that's the main thing. So it's there is a lot of waiting to see what can go wrong. I think the best way, in my opinion, I think the best way to look at all of it is experiences over expectations. If you can go into it without saying this person's going to be the one, we're going to have magical fireworks sex, and we're going to have great connection, and they're going to have the same chemistry that I hope to have all my life, and throw that out the window and say, let's just see what happens and enjoy this experience, then you're usually going to be in much better shape.
right. Just having no expectations at all in a relationship, I feel, is your best bet in any relationship, not just dating,
Or
because
life,
yeah,
whatever.
you just
Yeah.
build them up, and you're constantly going to be disappointed. I just remember when I was single that other people would want to fix me up with other single people just because they were single. And I
Mhm.
was just like, well, wait a minute. I still have taste. It's not just like, oh, find me any single person. It's fine. I don't, it doesn't matter what they look like or talk like or any of their beliefs. If they're
Yeah.
single, yes, it's a
Yeah.
match.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Like you now are the person that's in a relationship. Are you that person in a relationship that has that single friend? You're like, oh, please tell me about your horrible dating stories. Are you that one?
Well, I was a hairstylist, so
Oh,
I was
sure.
hearing a lot about it. And gosh, there was a one lady, and I loved her to death, great lady, but she just could not seem to find, I don't want to say a normal person because that sounds super judgy, but she just couldn't find a match for herself. And she would come in with just crazy stories, and she would say, I met this one on Plenty of Fish and this one on, and I was just like, oh
Mhm.
my God, after a while, it was exhausting to me. And I thought, lady, how many dates do you go on before you're just like, white flag? I need to sit this one out.
Yeah.
I'm done. But she went on a date with this guy, and there is a bridge here where we live, and he wanted to meet her on that bridge. And she was like, okay, well, whatever. She wouldn't have her own car, so she met him there, and they were walking along. He brought his child in a stroller. That's besides the point. But they were on the bridge, and the Nebraska and Iowa are very close. They're connected by this bridge. And
Uh,
when he got to a certain point, he couldn't go past that point because he couldn't leave leave the state. And he had like an ankle bracelet thing on.
mm.
So she ended up just, okay, you brought your child in a stroller. I think that should have been, my first clue, but no, this isn't going to work. So she went on. But I thought, oh my God, can that story get any crazier? What?
I'm telling you, this was his idea.
Yeah.
Like, what dude sits back and says, I know a long walk would be nice, but a long walk where I can only go halfway doesn't seem like the best way to court a woman.
Yeah, maybe that was his way out, just in case.
Yeah, no. Well, that's kind of funny. There's
Yeah.
definitely, you always should have a way out. I didn't think my ankle bracelet going off and the popo showing up would be the way out to go, but different strokes, that's
Yeah.
for sure. That's
Yeah,
for
it made
sure.
for a good story. But anyways, you're on the dating scene right now, and do you talk to them quite a few times before you actually meet them in person? Or do you like to meet them, like, just get it over with, pull the Band-Aid? Let's just
I run into stuff I didn't think I would run into, and not just on the dating stuff, but like once somebody finds out that I do this podcast, they're like, "Yeah, something's up. You're gonna end up throwing me on the podcast. I don't know if I want to hang out with you, bro." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get that. I didn't see that one coming, but
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So there's a friend of mine, she was on the show, or she's become a friend of mine, I should say, and she monikered it so perfectly. She's like, my friends and I, we go out and we try to meet people in public, and we call it dating in the wild. And I'm like, that's the perfect way to put it. And that might be what I have to do, is date in the wild. But when I am talking to somebody, I think there's a couple of things that I guess I do. Is just, you want to see if there's a connection, a vibe. You want to see if you can have a communication with somebody to where if you're sitting across from a coffee, you're not going, my God, when do I have to leave? Can I please,
Right.
will there be a fire in the building so we can evacuate and leave, please?
You start your own fire.
Yeah. There's I won't rule that out, especially for other people. That definitely wouldn't rule that out. But no, I try to get off the app, communication on the app as quick as possible, and just normal communication. I think there's so much that happens. Like, women are so worried about getting that great elusive dick pic from a guy. And then, like, just so we're clear, my philosophy, and the philosophy that I believe is the best for any woman to do in this, is make sure you have a bunch of friends that you can send that picture out to. I mean, it is now your property. So once you send that out to your friends, you can, just like we like to do with podcasts, like, subscribe, follow, comment. You can do all that on the, or of course you could just mock the hell out of it. I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing, especially unsolicited, which 99% of them are, I think the best response that I have heard is somebody said, oh my gosh, I'm calling the cops. I'm going to have the cops come to your house. I can't believe you have child pornography on your phone. Why would you send me a picture? Why would you send me a picture of a child's penis? And
oh my God.
I think that's so much better way to go than with anger, because the dude is just going, it's cold outside. I swear it's cold. Like, what are they going to say to that?
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant, really.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
have you been catfished?
I haven't. Not well. So I'm certain that I've talked to people who weren't the people in the picture. I'm certain I've done that. And once that kind of happens, it's like, you kind of sound like they're communicating from, I don't know, like, it's like when you call customer service for the hospital or something, and it's somebody in the Middle East who barely knows the language. I feel like their communication style was kind of like that,
Right.
And the picture was, let's say a blonde, golden tan. You're like, something doesn't quite match up. And I like to go down the rabbit hole and just see if I can get some information and be like, hey, by the way, I do this podcast. You want to come on? I have a friend who was catfished, though. His story is pretty good. Like, his was the first one that made me go, holy shit. And I'll paraphrase, but if anyone listens to the show, it's episode 1, or season 1, episode 3 is called Gone Catfishing. And he pretty much is set up to meet a girl at a bar across the street from the apartment where he lives. And he walks in the bar, and there's like 3 guys sitting at the bar, and no one else is in there. Long story short, the girl doesn't show up. He goes to leave. She says she's there, and he walks back in, and it's still the same 3 guys. Yeah, and as he leaves, his phone, this was a while ago, so his phone starts blowing up about, hey, do you want to meet back behind this bar? You can give me oral. And I guess she ended up putting his number on Backpage and said, for a good time, contact this phone number. So that's how long ago it was Backpage.
What is Backpage? I don't even know what that is.
So Backpage was something that was around probably about 10, 15 years ago, where it was pretty much solicitation ads, like Craigslist would have. Like, if you want a massage, please contact, and the massage comes with a happy ending. So it's just the way that it was like the apps before it was the apps.
Okay.
So he was getting like call after call after call for fellatio solicitation, and he just didn't know what to do. Well, eventually it went away. And then about 2 years later, he goes into this bar, and it was when vape first was starting to be a big thing, and he walked in, and he saw this guy who modified his vapor e-cig, and it looked like, he's like, man, it looked like a dragon, just looked like just fire coming out of this dude's mouth. And I'm like, I need to know that person. I want to hang out with that guy. So I'm like, all right, bro, whatever you're into. So he goes and he hangs out with this guy. They become friends, or kind of become friends that night, hang out that night. end up becoming Facebook friends or whatever. And then my buddy gets Snapchat, and when we download Snapchat, it combines all of your contacts, like if there's anything that's similar. And it downloaded the phone number from this girl that stood him up with the picture of this guy who he met in this bar 2 years later. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was the one where I'm just like, holy shit, bro. He's like, yeah, I don't know. So they did a little bit more investigation and ended up that this guy was catfishing him. He ended up being a guy from the area who was just lonely, wanted some friends and some companionship, and just didn't know how to go about it and all that. But the way the ties that bind go on that, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is that all the technology and social media and everything, like you can really go like you said, go down a rabbit hole. You can
Yep.
find out about people if you absolutely want to. I mean, there's everybody thinks they're a PI now because you can just like, okay, give me his last name. Okay, his brother's name's Joe, and you can find out anything if you want to. So people really have to go out of their way to be deceitful, to catfish.
Totally. The FBI has nothing on a women and their friends who are out there trying to figure out what's going on with the guy, or vice versa, a guy and his crew. I mean, either way, I mean, the FBI's got nothing on them, especially after what that Netflix show You. I mean, that opened the door, I think, for a lot of people to figure out, oh, I can dig and find anything out.
Yeah. So do you try and date local, or do you just throw your hands up and say, you know what, if I meet somebody and they happen to live in another state and we click, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay local. I don't try to go out too far. I really am a total like I have a pretty big personality. I'm not afraid to walk up to people, but anymore people are kind of afraid to be walked up to.
Yeah.
Um, so if it is a contact through the apps, it's like, let's go get coffee, and honestly, my personality may be too big, or just something main. It's always a vibe check. I always got to see if everything's going to be all right. So I try to stay close, try to get the experience over the expectation, and see what happens. But if I go out of state, I'm afraid, I might not be able to cross that bridge. My anklet. No, I'm kidding.
Bring it around, back around
Yeah,
circle
yeah,
here.
yeah. No, it's so a relationship is tough enough when you're down the block, much less out of state.
Yeah. Have you ever been married?
Yeah. I was married for about 10 years, was with her for about 15. And I am lucky enough to still have her as still my best friend. So,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
I truly do believe like people are in our lives for a reason. I mean, nobody cheated, nobody Lorena Bobbitt anybody or anything like
Yeah.
that. And so she I'm just I love this person for a reason. I just love her a little bit differently. She loves me a little bit differently, and we're family. We're just not together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So do
sure.
you think dating has made you jaded, or do you feel like it's given you a whole new perspective almost in the positive way?
Oh, that's a really good question. Organically, I'm an optimist, so I wouldn't say it's made me jaded. It's made me a little cautious. I feel like dating, kind of like even when your friends were trying to set you up, everything's done in levels. Like first thing you want to do is see if there is a connection with somebody, not just over the apps, but in person. Like if you actually have a good vibe, then if there's any sexual chemistry, you want to know that. But then as you keep going, it's like does this person, like if there's kids involved, does this person's parenting style match my parenting style? When we get into a fight, is this person a yeller and I'm not? Are we going to communicate and be able to be all right that way? So I feel like it's a damn video game, and you're just trying to fly through each level of compatibility and see what happens. So I'm yet to get through all levels of compatibility. How's that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good answer. When my husband and I got fixed up, it was on a blind date, and it was two brothers that fixed us up. He knew the one brother, and I knew the other. And so the one brother, I mean, this is not a humble brag. He thought I was younger than I was, which is very sweet.
Very
So he
cool.
fixed me up with my husband, who is a lot younger than me. And they were all watching football together. And he was like, "Hey, yeah, I know this girl, and she's divorced with 3 kids. Would you want to go out on a date with her?" And my husband was like, "No, no, I wouldn't. Thank you." Thank you for asking, but no, I don't want any part of that at all. I mean, that's a big thing to sign up for, but he thought it over the weekend, and we went out for dinner, and he thought, you know what, it's a dinner. Who cares? We'll just see what happens. And that was it. We just hit it off. But
Good.
it's merging, blending families is very difficult. It's not as easy as the Brady Bunch made it look. Like
No
it is
doubt,
very
right?
difficult. It's you're not only trying to merge your own personalities together, but like you were saying about how they parent, and if they're a yeller or if they're a nice calm communicator, like so many things come into the play, and then you have children also added to the pot. So that it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. And the older you get, the more baggage comes
Yeah.
with. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the game.
Yeah, nowadays, like through this dating style, everybody has a roster. Everybody's got, 30, 10, 20, 30 people that if something doesn't go right in one interaction, they've got 15 or 20 other people that they can just bounce to maybe start anew or go from there. So some people, just aren't maybe as patient to see if they can work through some of these times and build. They're more apt to just jump from one to another.
Yeah, that's very true. Or they build up this criteria list where it's like you read it and you're like, I think that person might be too good for you. Like that seems like a pretty extensive list of things, list of demands that you want. I mean, you'll be
Very
lucky if
true.
you get half of the things that you actually want and demand in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot to navigate. There's no doubt about it. And unfortunately, I do hear a lot of the bad stories, but there's plenty of good ones too. There's a lot of success stories, and those are the good ones to hear also.
Yeah, but nobody wants to hear that. Everybody is listening to your show because they want the dirt. They want to hear,
Oh,
especially married people. They want to
yeah.
hear that you guys are miserable.
The news doesn't show anything good for a reason. Okay.
Right, right. So do you have like a long list of people just dying to get on the show and tell their stories?
I wouldn't. It's starting to get pretty,
Yeah.
pretty good that way. And for probably like just like in your case, at some point, I imagine you're like, damn, I need to find some people to talk to, and you're like, how do I do this? Where am I going to go? And we ran into that, and then the snowball just starts to happen. Like a couple people say, hey, I think I might have something I can add to it. And luckily, right now, I think June 5th, right in that area, we're dropping our third season, which we pretty much have it all. We just post production all the episodes, so we're getting to a good spot in that. And I think as people identify with, holy shit, I guarantee I have something similar, or I got something that can top that. This next season, when it goes, like there's definitely a few spots where my jaw was just like, holy shit, are you kidding me?
Oh, I'm for sure gonna listen. I love it. I eat that stuff up. And I
uh,
I would be so like I am such a grammar snob that if I was going back and forth and texting with people to try and date them, if they had like more than one, I'd be like, "You're out."
I
You
would
don't
be
know.
out.
You don't know how
I
to
would be
spell that.
out. I promise you, I would be out.
How do you not know how to spell that? Or is that even a word? We're through. It's over.
You're not the only one. And for that, I send voice messages as often as possible. They're like, he used then in the wrong, it's A-N, not E-N, you idiots. I could see that happening. I could see that
I
happening.
can't have children with that man. He doesn't even know how to spell. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
You're
So,
like,
what do you do for a living? What's your job?
I was in mortgages for a while. And then when
Oh,
things went crazy, I got a severance package, and I've been playing podcast ever since. So eventually I'll have to go back to work, maybe, or I'll just keep playing podcasts, and we'll
yeah,
see. Hopefully it
awesome.
grows and all that. But yeah, it's been, as you can spend a lot of time trying to build and then getting the word out there and all that. And it's not just, hey, let's crack the mic and see what happens. There's a lot of other stuff we do as well. So that's the fun part. So maybe within the next month or two, I go back and figure out what else to do. But in the meantime, I'm just playing podcast.
Good for you,
Right?
especially being a numbers person. That is not my field of expertise. So, good for you for being a smarty pants.
Hey, I don't want to have to live up to that. Come on now.
A smarty pants with numbers. How's that?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so promote yourself. How can people find you?
So check us out at Swipe Wrong Podcast. It's on every platform. If you do have a story, feel free to email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. You can call 317-426-6616. If you want me to call you back or whatever, by all means, let me know, or just leave your message and your story on the voicemail. Other than that, we have a website. It's pretty generic though. It's just where all the shows go,
Yeah.
swipewrongpod.com. But other than that, I'm usually just wandering like I'm a homeless dude in the streets. So
Oh boy, that'll get you a lot of dates.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, a kung fu walking the earth. So I got to share something though, if you don't mind. Can I sidetrack?
No,
Like
do it.
I had this thing happen, and you can either laugh at me or laugh with me. So there's a bunch of forums out there where so to protect yourself, women especially, there's something out there like, are we dating the same guy website, or Facebook page or whatever, which is never a bad idea. There's also something out there like says like singles and love in it. Just so go out, have fun. And a friend of mine and I were in one of those, and she sent me this story about this person. She was this girl was talking to this guy, and he was really rude and he was really abrasive. And she was sending screenshots of the exchange between each one of them. And we kind of thought we knew the guy. We're like, hey, this guy seems familiar. And after we did our FBI investigation, um, we figured out that he is actually a person who is going to be on one of my upcoming season episodes. And yeah, so I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. And she seemed relatively new to online dating. So I jumped in Facebook Messenger, and I just said, hey, look, just so you know, there's a couple of these sites out there. You might want to post this and see if anybody has information on this person. I didn't want to say anything like
Yeah,
I knew anything about him or anything like that. Because, there's three sides to every story.
sure.
But in case she needed some sort of help or some sort of support, I want to say, hey, go there, go check this out. And that sad message, you can see if it's been read or not read. And it hadn't been read. And my friend and I were at lunch, and she's like, hey, did that person respond? I went, no. I said, well, maybe I'll send a voice message. So that way this can kind of get through maybe a little bit better. So I sent a voice message, same thing. And then within 2 minutes, she sent back, she saw, I don't know who the fuck you are. Don't contact me, and just blocked me. And I was like,
What?
yeah, just totally blocked me. And I went, huh. So I just that's the first time I've had that experience to where I was trying to, truly, I thought help somebody.
Help,
It,
yeah.
and she could just be like, maybe she got a slew of inbox messages to where guys were just being jerk faces. But I was just like, wow, this is kind of a new one. So I haven't had anybody to share with. And since you and I have kind of talked a little bit, Don, I felt like I should share with you.
Yeah. Wow,
Right.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it takes all kinds, right?
And that's sad. It's sad that you do have to be on your guard like that. There's just so many people out there that don't have good motives, and
Yeah.
it ruins it for the people that are out there that are just trying to meet somebody and have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so recommendation, always background check whoever you go out with. Definitely tell somebody who you're going out with and where you're meeting them, just so everybody knows what's going on. I'm sure, 90% of dates are not nefarious, but just so it's CYA.
Well, yeah, and find out if they're going to bring their baby in a stroller.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Find out ahead of time
Yeah.
if you need to bring a pack and
Yeah.
play or
Yeah. Anklets are cute, but not always. Yes.
Oh gosh, Chris, this was great. I knew it was going to be great. I was so excited to talk to you, and thank you so much for being on, taking the time. Good luck with everything.
Right back at you. Absolutely my pleasure.
All right, and I will be in touch.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. See ya.